I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I've only known Rosey for the last few months, and we've gotten really close because I lost my son to cancer 12 years ago when he was 22. And so I've been acquainted with grief, as they say. And when I was going through that process, I did some counseling with a guy who was a really good counselor. And he'd been to seminary, and the favorite course at the seminary was the pastoral counseling class because the guy was really good. And he started this class the same way every time. He got up in front of everybody and said, the death rate remains the same. There is no if. There's only when, which doesn't matter a lot, but mostly how. So we're here because the death rate remains the same, and here's how.
Are you suggesting I'm dying on stage over here?
Not on stage, no, please, no.
So why am I here? It's a good question because it's still clarifying for me why I'm actually here doing this conversation, having this evening, an inspirational evening of black comedy and music, whatever the hell that means. I know it means to me that last year when I was diagnosed in May, the weird part is nothing much changed. I was in pretty deep joy of life when I was diagnosed. I was 15 days into my annual juice fast. I was getting lean and mean and feeling good and strong. I had problems swallowing, little hint. But other than that, life was good. Life is good. So there's no transition, but as soon as I got that diagnosis and came out of shock, okay, I was in shock for a few minutes. She said, what? When? 3 months? No, I didn't hear 3 months. I heard 6 months. Okay, yeah. 3 months to 6 months without treatment. If I got treatment, a year, 2 years, whatever. It was irrelevant because I went home and the first thing I did is I cracked open my iPhone and I started taking notes for Rosey's last stand-up. I mean, would any self-respecting writer, reporter, raconteur, wish to be, wanna be, stand-up comic, would now have as better material as he could ever have in his whole life? Nor would I ever have again. Again. It's another word to keep out of my book. Of course, that word out of my dictionary again. Just and again, things like that. No, what I realized is that I never have an audience better than this. I mean, really, what are the odds you'd walk out on me now? Right? I'm probably the safest place for a stand-up comic or whatever the heck I am tonight, you know? But why was it easy? Why was it seamless? Because that gets back to why I'm actually here and why I think there's actually something maybe for me to offer and share. For 7 years before that diagnosis, I'd been working really hard with Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now, with going to my therapist and doing the same thing, just trying to be present, trying to be free of the definitions of the pain of the past that we use to say who we are, free of the fears, you know, for the future, which was all fantasy because it never happened yet, as with my death. Nothing's happened. I've never died, folks. Don't know a thing about that. But seamlessly, to go into this with no anxiety, how did I get it? Because I worked on it, because I got a sense of being really here. And yes, when I die, I'll die, and let's take that when it comes. Right now, I've got a lot of living. And not any more living than I had the day before prognosis. Not anymore, just life. So, But that still doesn't tell you why I spent 7 years working my tail off to try to be wow in the now, to try to be feeling my body, to try to be breathing into each moment, trying to be present for friends and people, trying to listen compassionately and learn how to do that at higher levels every time. But why did I do that? And this is the answer that came to me, and it didn't come when I started this show or jotting down funny things to say. And it didn't come when I decided even to do this show, but formally, finally get it done, when I knew my deadline was soon arising. And the damn part, as a reporter, deadlines are horrible when you take aspirin for them. This kind of deadline, I don't know when. So it's, hello, give me a deadline. I gave you a deadline. No, you didn't give me a deadline. Okay, you gave me, but I don't know what the hell it is. 7 years ago was when I was separating and divorcing from my son's mom. They were 12 and 14. Noah and David. Loves of my life, dedication of my life. But I had, in the 20 years of marriage, I'd been emotionally and mentally abusive of my wife. I've been sweet to my kids, kind, loving, a good dad in many ways, but you can't be rude, disrespectful, abusive to a kid's mom without abusing the kids. I'd done, in Jewish they call it teshuvah, the work to do to try to remake, to make up, aside from the apologies, because I owed them something. But they were estranged, they were through with me. They were done 7 years ago. And they've kept, I put them in an odd position. I put them in a position of having to defend me between mom and dad, having to be defending their mom, even now perhaps, when they're 19 and 21. 7 years ago then, I made up my mind that I was going to let them know, let them see that people can change, that I could change. And more than that, I wanted to dedicate myself to being the kind of man that they would have and would be proud of having as a dad. It seems so obvious when I bring that up to you, but it wasn't even part of my understanding of what was going to happen tonight. I didn't know that. So I'm dedicating. And I want to let you know, you might have heard a boy playing piano outside. He was 11 years old, and that was David on the iPad. He is a magnificent young man, even though I don't know him then. When you hear him there, you know he's in touch with something very, very, very deep. Improvising for 2.5 hours at age 11 at a gallery opening on his piano. So, to David and Noah, someday, God willing, you'll see this. And you know that your dad has changed, can change, will be changing till his last breath. And we'll try to make himself into a guy that you've been proud of calling dad. Talking about death gets you smack into black comedy. Now that has not been anything that's turned me away. I get into everything. And it's been my life. There was a gal when I was in college. She was mentally ill. Oh, poor sad Alicia. She would see my unbridled enthusiasms, my swinging my tail as though I were a piddling puppy over any little excitement. And she would curse me out, and she would deride me and say, you know, you could even get into a piece of shit I said, and I call it scat. And yeah, and then it occurred to me as I learned Torah and the metaphysical understandings of our world and what that meant to even get into a piece of shit. The cosmology as it was created in the Jewish cosmology, all the energy of creation, the Big Bang, was poured into a vessel. When it could no longer hold the vessel, it exploded. And those sparks of holy material that became our world. Now, the sparks that came from the loftiest places, the loftiest energy, with so much energy when they crashed, they went deepest. They went grodiest. They went smelliest. They went into the darkest, deepest, dankest places in our lives, in our souls. And yet, that has more energy. And it's our work to redeem those sparks, to take that energy and to turn that abuse, say, into love, into spirit, into rebirth. That's getting into a piece of shit. And we're commanded to do that. So that's why I'm here. I'm here because I guess it never occurred to me that not everybody does that when they get a death sentence. Start writing down notes for comedy. But it took me a while to realize that I was kind of onto something by the reactions I was getting to the people in my life when they would say, "How are you? Are you okay?" And I'd say, "Oh shit, I'm great." Did you hear what I ate yesterday? I had this Martoli's pizza. You're here, I'm looking at your pretty face. You're playing music at me? Come on. Am I good? Am I good? I've never been better. You did it. Yes, so you're not? It never occurred to me, but then I realized that I apparently had some reason to be sticking around, because I had a modeling to do. For myself, too. But a modeling for people who are open to it, for whom black comedy doesn't send them shivering, and I can surely understand that. It's our mortality, folks. What else do we got? Nothing. Or, it's another topic. And I'm not going there. So people saw and witnessed my joy. I realized I had something to share and to give over. And that finally answers the complete question of why I am here. And I realize a lot of us are stuck with death. It's the hardest. Sex taboo has gone the wayside. Death? Oh, I think this was about sex tonight, and I was doing this kind of job. We packed this place, 300 people. Sex, death, sex. What sells better? Let's see. Last time you bought a Buick because there was a cadaver in the front seat? But not as frequent. So I will tell you, I'm going to call this, for you stuck people and me stuck people, shtick for the stuck.
Thanks, Rosey. Yeah.
Changes are subtle. That's what got to me. I was going to determine, and there was no real determine, it was just I woke up the next day and I would do the things I did the day before. I'd always loved not being on a particular budget, never being on a salary for years and years, that I love buying in bulk. I love Costco. I still love Costco. As a matter of fact, their toilet paper, have you guys tried that? It is so big and soft, it can hardly fit on the roll, you know? And it's strong too. And it's at all the right places. It's the best, okay? Even if you blow your nose with it, it's really wonderful stuff. So just because they're selling it in 48 pack and that's all I can do, I was not going to break my habits. But it did pose a challenge. I realized now when I went to Costco, I'd just be taking 2 lists, you know, my typical shopping list and then my will. What was interesting too is I find you walk into things and you're confronted by something and it hits you in a different way. You know, my iPhone needed a new headpiece. So I go to Radio Shack and I thought he was saying to me something about a lifetime warranty for $295. And it occurred to me, oh, that sounds, hold it, a chiclet's not even gonna last me a lifetime. You know? And I noticed though that the sweet part, the differences, you know, for years I had this terrible bridge put in my mouth. Dentist mucked it all up. I knew 8, 9, 10 years ago, it's gonna have to come out someday. Not anymore. Yeah. I finally got something good, you know, a good deal of that sucker dentist. But I wasn't gonna go back. But to keep my teeth, you know, as my dad urged me and my mom urged me growing up, I went through a 10-minute process every day with the little toothy things and with the rubber toothy things and then the floss. And I said always, if I'm gonna make, I brushed twice, 2 different kinds of toothpaste, 1 different kind of mouthwash. It's 15 minutes. I go 2 innings of watching a Yankee game. Truly. So I said to myself, if ever I'm in this position, I'm not flossing anymore. Another victory. Another victory, a great victory. But people around me were really taking it well. I had a lot of dinner parties. Nothing stopped. On Shabbos, on Friday night, people would come over, and I noticed a really sweet couple. And what I'd done at that point is I'd left stickers out. Just in the last 4 months, I decided to remake my life as an aside in my life. So all the photographs, not all, the great photographs that I put together over the years, I'm real proud of them. I finally framed them, put them up, and made it into my home. And now, 4 months later, and now I was letting people have stickers to put their names on them, you know? And pieces of furniture, and what am I gonna do with it? Come on, you're being dropped into a box in a shroud. All I want is my iPhone. What else do I need? I have all the pictures on there in JPEGs, an extra long battery. Until I'm rotten, it'll work. Who laughed at that? You're sick. No, I'm just kidding. That's very funny. But seriously, folks, I'm sorry, that's not right. But I heard these 2 people in the pantry, and I heard one overhearing to each other. We use that brand, don't we? So I guess the next day I shouldn't have been surprised to see my Kirkland 6.5 ounce albacore white with stickers all over it. And they put each other's names on the alternating one. It was very cute. Husband and wife, like they have, you know. And I guess it wasn't just for me with you know, big box stores. I also I like bargains. You know, can I tell you? And the breakdown with pills like Viagra and Cialis are a big deal. So I want you to know, talk to me later, but I have at least 300 tabs of Cialis. And I don't think if you have an erection that long into eternity, it's going to make a whole lot of difference. But I wouldn't waste my time. So if you want to talk about that later, that's fine with me. There are other changes. And the most interesting change is that the first thing I knew is that I want to pull some boundaries around me and the people I interacted with. That's pretty, people self-police themselves if they can't be around somebody who's dying, and it's hard. They will just find their way not to be around somebody who's dying. But it struck me that I was going up to people, a lot of people, who I would tell them, you know, I just got my prognosis, I'm not going to be around. It's okay, I'm doing great. And they fall on my shoulders crying. Because reflected in me, they don't see my life. They don't see the living person. And I knew I couldn't do that. I couldn't be around people who would not look at me and see life. And instead, see their fear of their own mortality, which is what really this is all about. But as other doors opened, as other doors closed and people filtered out of my life quite naturally like that, other doors opened. Miracles, talk more about them later, but the miracle of having 3 weeks before diagnosis to re-engage with a woman from Portland who wanted to re-engage. And when I was diagnosed, who didn't drop off the face of the earth, not only that, made a commitment to me to go all the way. Now, usually I know what that means. What I wanted that to mean is that she'd be with me now. That she would take me, escort me on this final trip. No, she just wanted the other version of, right? Which was fine. To have sex and romance on my way out, that's just at any time, right? But frankly, unexpected pleasure. Unexpected, a total miracle. And it didn't have to last long. But when it was over, I was hardly finished. I still had the Cialis. And I still had a desire to be flesh to flesh with a woman. And of course, the way we flesh to flesh in our lives right now, we go pixel to pixel, which I went on OkCupid again, but I changed my shtick there, as you can imagine, to be a little bit more honest, not just loving life, fun loving, but not going to be around very long, so why don't you do this now with me? When it asks the questions, and OkCupid has great questions, how long do you expect to date? How many dates before you have sex? 5 to 7, 10 to 14, 1 to 3. I wrote, dates? Please. But that time, when I went back to OkCupid, my oncological consultant who sits with a violin, Don Lamont, was advising me on how to fight off and how to stem the tide of the cancer by starving it, by food and also by working out. I don't have hardly the muscles now, but I have a little bit to show you. But that's like 8 weeks of not doing anything. She had me on an 8-pack, for God's sakes. I was this ripped guy. I loved going to the gym saying, hey, baby, I'm dying. Look at me. Come on, look at me. 10% body fat. I'll have a whole lot less soon, but at the time, I had to work a whole lot harder for that. Sure, that's true. It's hard that the iPhone exercises and can do anything. So basically, OkCupid was fine, but I got to tell you the truth. I kind of see myself as a great marketing genius, and in some ways, I'm pretty good at it. But I was a failure at OkCupid. I don't think I had a single coffee date at Noble's based on that ad. And consider this. I thought it was a great line, and I might ask you guys for help. You women out there, why it didn't work, but I mean, I thought they'd be interested in having a guy make love to them as though it was his last time. Come on, last time. Come on, last time. It can't be better. He's going to be into it. Come on. Nobody's going to want it more than I want it. Or be as happy or be as grateful. And besides, you wouldn't have to go through the breakup. Just all the good stuff. And people are still in this, woo. No. But it didn't work. It didn't work. I thought it would be irresistible.